Easy. And where we at? Come on, YouTube. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yes, sir. There we go. So, good people, great people, guys, people. How y'all feeling? It's Wednesday, which means what? It's Odie's office day. We here. We back. You know, we on the YouTube. We putting stuff back on the podcast. This podcast episode will actually also be available on my Audible. It'll be available on my Audible because I have now an Audible. Yeah, you guys, I have a Spotify too. You can go follow me on Spotify to, hear my lovely velvety voice. Speaking of my lovely velvety voice, I also have a book club that is sponsored by the ShareSpace app. And the ShareSpace app is a platform where you can go and you can create your own little group. It's confidential 100%. They just got through going through their first seed round of funding. So they are doing things that are huge in the mental health community. So we definitely want to continue to support wherever it is that we can as it relates to having more platforms for mental health to be participating on. And my contribution to the share space platform is Odie's book club. And Odie's book club is a space where we meet twice a month, and we discuss different types of books. So the book of the month this month is The Alchemist. So if you want to join Odie's book club, you can go to my link in my bio and you can click on it and you can click Odie's book club and it'll bring you to the ShareSpace app. You will download the ShareSpace app and then you will join my book club. It is a subscription-based service. So if you guys want to join my book club, read some of the things that I'm reading, get the one-on-one time with who it is that you let them most. I'm sorry. You can come spend some time with me. Also, inside of Odie's book club, I have also what's called Odie's Lullaby. And Odie's Lullaby is where I will read to the ladies, or whoever else wants to come listen to me read. I don't discriminate if it's, it's itemized, you feel me? Come read romance novels, Quiet Storm, that type of feel. And it's meant to assist you in unwinding at the end of your day. I know that you all enjoy, sitting by the fire. Head ass. No. But no, sincerely, sitting down, warm, reading a book, any type of novel that you please, with your glass of wine or your glass of hot cocoa, whatever you desire, right? And we read together. And we read together for an hour and you sit, unwind, enjoy your time, and, spend a little bit of time with the professor, you feel me? So once again, Odie's Book Club, sponsored by ShareSpace. So, the second thing that I got going on, yeah. Oh, your boy been working. Your boy has been working. You dig what I'm saying? The second thing that I have going on is my masterclass for mindful finance. Now, let me tell y'all about this, man. I have been sitting on this project for 5 years, and I'm very proud of it because it is evidence-based, right? So it is a course that is teaching you how to identify intergenerational trauma so that you can build generational wealth. What I mean by that is this. Everybody has experienced some type of adverse life event that has caused some type of trauma, and a significant amount of those adverse life events have to do with money. So what happens is that when that adverse life event is attached to money, you develop something called money traumas, which then develop into something called money scripts, right? And that money script impacts how it is that you perceive your income, how it is that you perceive your value, how it is that you perceive even the investments that you decide to engage in, right? My masterclass is happening on October 25th. The link is also in the bio. And when you come to the masterclass, you will have the ability to hear me speak on and teach on what it is that I'm talking about when I say intergenerational trauma or identifying and healing intergenerational trauma in order to build generational wealth. But that's all for the sponsorships for right now. There will be more to come. So without further ado, we're going to get into our episode, and the episode is titled, We Look for What We Lack. Now, I find it very interesting, very interesting, that in this space now, in popular mental health, we are talking about this idea of love languages, communication, being emotionally intelligent in relationships. And I think it's very interesting because we really don't look at what emotional intelligence is overall. So if we don't know, emotional intelligence is basically your ability to understand, assess, and identify other people's emotions and then extend empathy to said emotions. I think that for a lot of us, because we respond to people as their gender and not as their person in relationships specifically, we don't get very far. We don't get very far in emotional intelligence. That's one. But also, two, we don't necessarily take the time to identify why we want to be loved the way that we want to be loved. And what do I mean by that? Have you ever stopped to think about why your love languages are what they are? Right? Have you ever stopped to think about where you get that from, right? Why do you like gifts? Why do you like words of affirmation? Why do you enjoy physical touch? Why do you enjoy quality time? Why do you enjoy acts of service, right? Why are these things situated in you the way that they are? Hold on, y'all. I gotta one more time. Yes, sir. But yeah, why are your love languages the way that they are, right? So I've been having conversations with my clients because y'all know I'm a therapist / life coach, and apparently a relationship coach as well. I thought I just kind of did that on the side of, like, you know what I'm saying, individual therapy, but no, I might mess around and be a real relationship coach out in these streets, G. But no, so I'm having conversations with my clients, and a lot of the conversations tend to roll into perceptions of what they believe relationships are or how they should run. And as I'm looking at these things, or as I'm identifying these things, we're having these conversations, and a lot of the ideas that I hear about relationships, or a lot of the things that we perceive to be, factual, are not factual. They're compulsory. And what do I mean by that? So there's a concept in polyamorous, I guess you can call it polyamorous literature, or non-traditional or or unorthodox relationship dynamics, that type of literature. And it talks about the concept of compulsory monogamy, right? So compulsory monogamy is the idea that when you get into a relationship, you have to then be in a monogamous relationship. Like, there's no alternative, there's no deviation. As soon as you go on a date with somebody, you got to be married to them, right? It's very much so Judeo-Christian. It's very much so Roman Catholic. We can get into it any other of those ways, but it's not necessarily something that you have to adopt, but we have adapted to that social structure. So it comes off as us perceiving that that's what it is that we need to do. Why is that relevant? It is relevant because in that type of compulsion, we place a lot of responsibility and, how can I say? We place a lot of responsibility and labor on the other person by expecting them to perform the duties of their gender role without question. And if they do not, we perceive them as somebody who is lacking the ability of maintaining a relationship at that point. So let me be more clear. I always enjoy utilizing scenarios where men and women's roles, or their gender roles or gender expressions, are switched, because it truly gives me an ability to see how it is that somebody thinks about gender roles and gender activities. So this is the scenario that I just recently gave my client. Let's say that there's a woman who makes $135,000, right? And there's a man who makes $75,000. So both of them are above the threshold of somebody being, quote unquote, money stable. So neither one of them are really thinking too much about money and where it's coming from, right? She's at one end of the spectrum, he's at the other end of the spectrum, right? She makes a little more or a little less than double of what it is that he makes, but he still makes a decent amount of money. He ain't broke. You dig what I'm saying? He moves in with her and she pays all of her bills. But when he moves in, he creates portfolios that generate income at 10% a month based upon whatever's in that portfolio. It's possible. It's high risk, but it's possible, right? So, and that money is going back into the household that they both are in. She then turns around and asks him to pay rent. Is there a problem? Right? Now, depending upon who it is that you are, you'll say yes, no, maybe so, I don't know, who cares? The reality of the situation is that if you are not focused on the role expectation of the other individual, you would see that nigga 10% return on that much money? What? Bro, a 10% return on anything is beautiful. A 10% return on anything is beautiful, right? So, you're so concerned about the gender role expectation that you're not making no money, right? The sound is skipping. Thank you all so very much. Give me a quick second. We can do this really quickly. Watch this. So, and this is the reason why it's so very important. Hold on, because my headphones were not turned on. This is the reason why sound checks are important, you guys. Turned off. Turn back on. There we go. There we go. There we go. So it may have been that my hair was brushing against the microphone. So for my people on Instagram, can y'all hear me better now? Y'all should be able to hear me better now because I think I adjusted the sound better. So it should sound better. If it doesn't, let me know. I'm actually looking at my YouTube screen still. So yeah, this is gonna be a very interesting live and podcast to listen to because you guys get the behind the scenes. I'll do all of these in one take. Like I don't edit, I don't do anything of that nature. I just do whatever is happening at the point in time. So you guys on IG, people are gonna start coming back into the live after things shake back up, but it's all right though. You know what I'm saying? You got to roll with the punches. It's all good. So, but yeah, so we're having these conversations about what it is that these gender role expectations are, and then it leads into needs not being met, or it leads into appreciation or lack of appreciation for the other person, right? Y'all are saying there's still no sound. That's very odd. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to tinker with this and talk on YouTube at the same time. This is going to be very fun. So, you all are saying that there's still no sound, which is very interesting because there should be sound. There's still no sound. Let's see. I don't understand why there isn't any sound though, because there should be. Hold on, y'all. Give me a quick second. We gonna come right back on the IG, but we gonna keep it going on the YouTube. Let's see. Nope. Because what we're going to have to do is we just going to have to run it all the way back on the IG. We're going to keep it going on the YouTube. G, like, nah, this is all live and we just going to keep it moving. We're going to keep it grooving. So, let's see. People should be able to hear me now. And if they can't, this would be quite annoying. Let's see. So they should be able to hear me now. So we got it back going on the IG, and let's hopefully it's good. Otherwise, we're gonna have to figure it out on the IG. But so, as I was saying, there's this gender role expectation that people have to abide by, which leads to needs not being met. So what does that mean? That means that people will sit and they will wait until that person does not do what it is that they need to do or what it is that they're asking for them to do, right? And if they're not doing it, then they're unhappy, right? They feel as if though their needs are not being met. So when that happens or when that occurs, people do not usually fare well, right? So I was working at a job and we had something that we talked about called until moments, right? So an until moment is everything is okay until, right? Everything is all right until I feel this. Everything is all right until I feel that, right? Or everything is all right until this happens. There has to be a sound issue, you guys, because I don't know what's going on. Like, you guys still cannot hear me? Like, yo, this is the first time I think that this has ever happened in this way. So, nah, because this is significant. So we may have to keep this going, or no, not keep this going. We may have to run this back all the way back, like on YouTube and everything, because like, nah, this is significant. So on IG, can y'all hear me? Because this is wild. Like, this has never happened before. Oh, this is out of pocket. This is wild. Yo, really quick in the comments. Can y'all hear me? Yo, in the comments, I need y'all feedback. Can y'all hear me? Yeah, YouTube, I'm clear. IG, I'm not. So we're going to have to restart the YouTube, John. The sound is messed up on IG. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to try this one more time. Because if I can get this together, then I won't have to end my stream. And we just going to run it. So I have faith. So we're going to try this one more time. So Instagram, give me some time. So we're going to run it back. We're going to see if we can get the sound back. YouTube, bear with me. Cause hold on a quick second. Let's see. We're gonna discard this one too. Cause it's a wild jump. Bro, I'm gonna be real fucking irritated. I'm going to be very irritated if this was the issue. I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be so mad if this was the issue, bro. I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be so upset. I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be so mad if this is the issue. Because I'm gonna feel like a big asshole. I'm gonna feel like a dumbass. I'm gonna feel so stupid, bro. I'm gonna feel dumb. You guys are gonna see live on camera what it looks like when I feel dumb. Hey, you guys, can you hear me? I bet money they can hear me now. I bet money. I bet money. Hi, you guys, can you hear me? I just want to see if they can hear me. Because if they can hear me, I promise I'm going to run my forehead and oh my God. Do you want to know why y'all couldn't hear me, bro? The phone was on silent mode. And I'm trying so hard not to be as loud as I usually am. Because, boy, ooh. Okay. We fixed the sound issue on Instagram. Apparently, I need to review my sound check checklist. Okay? So, we're going to continue on the topic of we look for what we lack. Because apparently I ain't look for the sound on button. That's the reason why I was lacking sound. You dig what I'm saying? But we here, we clear, and yeah, we getting in gear. So, listen. Looking for what we lack sometimes requires slowing down. It sometimes requires looking for something that's relatively simple. But because we exist in spaces where we tend to complicate things, right? Or where we tend to, extend things beyond a space where they need to be extended as it relates to just simply somebody's ability to do something. And this is what I mean by that. In a lot of relationships, we believe that women and men are confined to particular roles and expectations simply because that's what we've been told or that's what we've been taught, right? So this whole concept of you look for what you lack can be something that is codependent or it can be something that's empowering. For a lot of us, we look for what we lack as something that is codependent. In other words, this person is supposed to complete me, right? This person is supposed to bring me something that I do not have. And not in the sense of adding to what it is that I already have. No, they are bringing me something that I lack. And that's a difference. Now, I'm not saying inherently there's something wrong with that. What it is that I'm saying is that you have to recognize that there comes a particular level of emotional labor that exists within that dynamic. Like you can't just expect to come into a relationship where you have to build and not get tired after building. That doesn't make any sense, right? You have to be well aware of what it is that you are engaging in a relationship in order for you to do a proper movement forward. So a lot of people don't like talking about relationships the way that it is that I talk about relationships, because I talk about relationships very much so from a business perspective, right? I'm like, yo, listen, in the eyes of the United States of America, when you get married, a lot of the times it is something that is a business transaction, right? In the eyes of the state, you all together are an entity that is entitled to particular tax benefits and particular, engagements to the state. Now, what does that mean? That simply means that in the eyes of the state, you have to declare that your income is also jointed. So both of you within this household are creating this income between the two of you all, right? So in a lot of ways, it's a declaration to the state that you are indeed a married couple. Now, that can go a myriad of ways, and that's just one type of relationship dynamic, right? And the reason why people say, oh, marriages aren't quote unquote legal or marriages aren't identified is because they don't get the tax benefits. You can marry anybody, literally. Love is not a requirement for marriage. Nowhere in the eyes of the law does it say that love is a requirement for marriage. They try to make love a requirement by making you go to couples counseling, but you can lie through couples counseling. Sincerely. And there is nothing in the state of in the ethical standards that says that I have to hold you all from getting married because you're lying. Like, I don't know if that's something that I can ethically do. Right? I know that these motherfuckers lying, but what can I really do about that? They decided to lie. You feel what I'm saying? So once again, to do a true value assessment of your relationship, you need to do a thorough evaluation of the self. Because you will continue to engage in particular relationship patterns if you do not understand why it is that you are seeking particular things, because you lack them. You are seeking particular things because you lack them. You believe that they are necessary for you to feel as if though you are a stable individual, or you feel as if though you're thriving in a stable environment. And once again, that's not necessarily a good or bad thing. That's just the way that it is that our minds and our brains work as it relates to, particular environmental stressors and getting needs met. But because we exist in a society where we have multiple ways to get those needs met, or multiple ways to get them itches scratched, you can go a whole bunch of different ways scratching that itch. But are you going to admit to the fact that you may have a rash and that's the reason why you itching? Right? It's the value assessment, and it's an honest value assessment. And when I say value assessment, I don't mean like income, or I don't mean, I don't mean like income. I don't mean like, oh, you making this much money or you making that much. No. When I say value, I sincerely mean, how can you assist in the construction of a healthy and healing environment, right? And that's where a lot of us as men, once again, coming back to the concept of emotional intelligence, we fall short, because we believe that our only way of providing or being a provider is financial. And because our self-concepts are so intimately tied to our finances, we believe that we cannot provide for somebody emotionally or mentally or physically even without being identified as feminine. So how is it that women are literally doing 3 times the work that a man is? No. I really want you to think about it. Women are expected to engage in emotional, physical, and mental care for men, while men are only expected, quote unquote, or we talk like we're only expected to provide financial stability. That is literally 3/4 to a whole. I need something to be a little bit more even. Mathematically, if we are looking at financial, emotional, mental, and physical stability in a household, when we are talking about provision, when we are talking about the 4 pillars that a roof usually exists on in a house, women are expected to construct or to maintain 3/4 of those pillars, or do a lot of the work of maintaining those pillars, right? And it's not because men are incapable, and I'm not saying that men don't do it. What I'm saying is that the way that we are socialized in spaces of emotional intelligence leads us to believe that if we were to be doing the maintenance on these pillars as well, we would be less masculine somehow. That's not emotionally intelligent. It's not. Right? I tell my clients all the time, emotions are electromagnetic impulses that move out from the outside of your body to the inside of your body that your brain then understands, or in a way decodes as data. You don't get to the point of feeling until after your brain has identified the electromagnetic impulse. Right? So the thing that you feel is what happens immediately. Then you think about that feeling, right? So what we call emotions, more specifically, is a thought related to a physiological response. That's closer to what an emotion is, because when you feel something, you feel it. It is a physiological response to your environment. That is what a feeling is. That is a vibration. You literally vibrate in response to your environment. That is what a feeling is. Right? Because when you get scared, what happens? Your blood rushes, your pupils dilate, your heart races, your muscles contract. All of those things are vibrations, especially your heart beating. You are vibrationally reacting to your environment. That is a feeling. Right? But when we describe our feelings, we have to associate them with concepts that will help us describe what is literally a set of physiological responses. That is the reason why it's so hard to describe your feelings. That is the reason why we say emotional intelligence. Because you can't say to somebody, damn, my heart beating real fast, bro, and I feel like I want to punch you in your shit and I don't know why. Somebody's going to think that you're threatening them. But if I say, I'm feeling as if though this conversation is bringing me a level of anxiety and defensiveness that I would need some time to evaluate so that we do not escalate to a physical altercation. That's a description, an explanation, and an attachment to an emotion which communicates a clear, desirable outcome. Right? But the reason why I'm able to communicate to that level is because I was around people who were more explosive, namely a person who was more explosive, right? I had to learn how to move around a parent who did not necessarily have the best emotional regulation skills. So I had to learn how to self-regulate and then see where other people did not know how to regulate. Is it a type of emotional intelligence? 100%. Do I utilize it in my relationships to my benefit? Sometimes, right? And when I say to my benefit, sometimes it hinders it, because that's what I've learned about the dynamic of relationships. So I have to consciously, once again, it all comes back to that self-awareness, that honesty, and that value evaluation. I have to say to myself, yo, brother, are you checking to see whether or not you are being hyper reactive to somebody attempting to tell you how it is that you made them feel, because you're perceiving it as a personal attack because you work so hard to make sure that they do not feel harmed, that you are perceiving it as you being faulty, which means that it tampers on your feeling of non-perfection? You need to check that, brother, because you know that's in your repertoire. Clear evaluation. Clear self-evaluation, right? We look for what we lack. That's what I mean when I say it can also be turned into something that is liberating. Because if you are doing a honest and fair self-evaluation, you will look for what you lack, right? But you have to be careful, because sometimes that's how you end up beating up on yourself. No. You look for what you lack and you admit what it is that you lack. And you simultaneously take accountability for the lack, but understand that you may not have been taught the skills to acquire what it is that you lack. But recognize that there is a lack. Right? So what does that mean for us in relationships? Irrespective of gender, you lack something somewhere. So for you to believe that it is somebody else's responsibility to bring you this resource is asinine. For you to believe that it is somebody else's responsibility to bring you this resource is asinine. You are not a baby. I don't give a damn if you got a dick or a vagina. You are not a child. Right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, if somebody has expressed their need to you and you are not doing what it is that is necessary in order to meet that need relative to somebody expressing it to you, In a lot of cases, you're being willfully negligent. I'm going to say that one more time because I'm not saying you got to do whatever it is that somebody says to you that you got to do. What I said was, if somebody has expressed a need, not a want, a need to you, and you have not attempted to, at your ability, assist or engage that person in meeting that need, you are being willfully negligent. A need is something that is necessary for that person to feel safe, secure, or for them to survive. Also, 9 times out of 10, if somebody's asking you to assist them with a need in the dynamic of a relationship, that person is usually talking about something that's going to help them feel emotionally situated and stable in that space. That is why we have boundaries, right? A person can express to you a need. That does not mean that you have to respect their boundary. That person is not obligated to stay until you figure it the fuck out. That's just how it goes. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And if you are this is the low frequency vibrations. We down here eating low vibrational places shit. But no, sincerely, in a very real way, if you vibrate at a frequency that makes somebody else physically uncomfortable, then their body will make way to move them away from you. This is not Hotep science. This is not superstition. This is looking at the intersections of how all it is that these ologies, this psychology, biology, anthropology, how all of these things meet in the in-between. How all of these things exist both locally and non-locally in a quantum state. That is what we are examining. And when we examine these quantum states and we look at the probability amplitudes of the things that can exist within this quantum state, we have to look at what it is that we utilize in order to develop that quantum state. So unless high in the sky terms, we cannot say that this relationship does not lack anything if by nature we as human beings lack because we believe that we lack. And we see lack and we experience lack in environments where needs are supposed to be met. That is what trauma is. That is what an adverse childhood experience is. Right? That is what big T or little t trauma is. That is what a microaggression is. That is what a car accident is. All of these things are types of electromagnetic data that exists to bring you an association to a particular physiological response. So in relationships, what does this mean? It means that you have to continue to learn. It means that you have to continue to grow. It means that you have to continue to understand. It means that you have to continue to communicate. A relationship is not stagnant just because you are in it. A relationship is not stagnant just because you are in it. Not only that, it is called a relationship. A ship is designed to leave the dock. If your relationship is still in the dock, if it has not traversed any waters, then I beg the faith that you have in the foundation of your relationship. Because I'm going to tell you something. If I get on a ship, that motherfucker better go over the water. Otherwise, I'm going to be real goddamn upset. So the same way you wouldn't get on a cruise ship with holes in the hull, my suggestion is to once again be very evaluative of how it is that you're moving in your relationships, because the reality of the situation is this: at the end of the day, we all have to self-evaluate. We do. In order to grow, we have to self-evaluate. We have to. We cannot live in this space or in this juncture where we believe that we have no effect on what's going on around us. We know. No, there's no such thing as that in African based or black psychology. There's no such thing. Everything has a cause and an effect. Everything exists for a reason. So you don't just do something. You you did it because there was an impulse that directed you to do it. So then why was it difficult to manage that impulse? Right? Because what we are talking about can be looked up, right? To a degree, I'm talking about energy psychology, but I find it very difficult to equip Caucasian names to things that have been around for thousands of years. So that's like me calling an elote street corn. It just don't feel right. It just don't feel right. So, once again, we just talking about the vibes, boy. But are you really paying attention to what it is that you are lacking in this vibrational structure? Why does this resonate with me in this way? Why do I feel detested? Why do I feel contested? Why do I feel conflicted by this particular type of energy? Right? So let me make another example. Let's say that you're in a relationship, right? We're gonna assume heterosexuality, right? Just because I'm not homosexual, so I can't speak from that experience. But we're gonna assume, once again, heterosexuality or heteronormativity at the very least, right? So there's a man and a woman, and they have been together for about 5 years. And what begins occurring is that the man begins pulling away from the woman. That's it. He just begins pulling away, right? There were so many different ways that that situation can be perceived based upon gender constructs and expectations that it could literally ruin that relationship. It could tear it apart. It could tear it apart. Because all it would take is for the woman to assume that that man was cheating, and for the man to assume that he can't talk to her. Downhill. So then they come to me, tired of each other, and I just ask the question, did either one of you ever ask what was going on? And if somebody did ask, were you honest? Because if you did not ask and you were not honest, it was not communicated. Therefore, there is some accountability to be held here in the emotional intelligence department. There is some accountability to be held in the trust department. There is some accountability to be held in the communication department. We need to evaluate why this communication did not process. Right? So, what does this mean once again, as it relates to looking for what it is that you lack? Too often in relationships, what it is that I see is somebody getting into a relationship with a partner because they feel like they need something, or they feel like they need to be stabilized in a particular way. That's not always the best way to go about that. Right? That's not always the best way to think about that. The reason being is because the best way that I can say it is that if you are looking for what you lack in relationships and you are not being honest about what it is that that person lacks, that person can give you what it is that they have and make you ignore what it is that they don't. I'm going to say that one more time. If you're only looking for what it is that you lack in your relationships and you are not careful and aware about how it is that somebody else may lack something even though they have what you're looking for, that person can give you what it is that they have, fill the need that you lack, and then have you ignore all of the things that they lack. So now you have met the need, but you still feel unhappy. Why? Because you have been placed with an unfair emotional burden in order to meet the need. Right? So this is where people start talking about soul ties. This is where we really get into a soul tie conversation, right? Because the lesson that you are learning is not, oh, I shouldn't be doing these things, or no. The lesson to be learned is, what are you seeking in these people? What need are they feeling? That is the reason why you continue to experience that lesson, right? That is the reason why soul ties are so associated with sex. It's not necessarily the sex itself, but it's when people say it's the energy that's extracted in exchange. No, that's very much so it's very much so a real thing, right? Whether you're talking about Kundalini energy, whether you're talking about energies that exist in terms of how it is that we got to this point of vulnerability, whether we're talking about energies that are exchanged just within, how it is that the neurochemicals are released in the brain before, during, and after sex. Like, there are a myriad of things that we can attribute this energy to, because all energy is mass in motion, right? That's literally all it is. And if we can measure it, this shit is there. It has a mass attached to it, right? Because now, because of the Nobel Peace the Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel the physicists, they found out that the universe was non-locally, it did not non-locally exist, or it did not locally exist. It didn't locally exist, right? So within that study, they said that anything that exists within 10 parts of a billion can be seen as quote unquote existing, right? So why is that relevant? That means that anything that has 10 parts of a billion means it exists. It doesn't matter how small, it exists, right? What we like to do is we like to invalidate things that we perceive are small, which then leads to somebody not getting their need met. So first and foremost, I don't care who did what or how or why. If it exists, then it exists. Two things can happen at the same time. And a lot of times, once again, we'd like to mismatch that. So what does that have to do with emotional intelligence and looking for what it is that you lack? Very simple. If you are not being honest, once again, about what it is that is going on within the dynamic of your local relationship, and when I say your local relationship, I mean within yourself first. That is the most local relationship. It is not with your spouse. It is not with your friends. It is not even with your significant other. It ain't even with your parents. It's with you. If that most local relationship is not intact, the rest of your relationships will not be intact. Because whether or not you want to believe it, they are responding to what is existing within yourself. And when you engage in particular dynamics with people, including sexual engagements, yes, you do transfer some of that energy, but it's not just through sex. It's through you being around this person while their neurochemical body, in a way, has been engaged with you, because y'all have, you know what I'm saying, been around each other, touching and feeling, you know what I'm saying, serotonin, oxytocin. I always get that one wrong. I always want to say oxycontin, but I know that's wrong. That's synthetic. That's synthesized. But no, it's oxytocin and dopamine and all that feel good stuff, right? Those things are naturally released when you have sex, when you're around people that you love, when you eat good food, yada, yada, yada. So if you getting wine, dined, and fucked, and you not talking about your trauma, you could very well end up married to somebody you do not know. If you are getting wine, dined, and fucked, you could very well get married to somebody you do not know. Right? Very much so. My friend, shut up there. Enemy of progress. Yeah, that's my cousin Woo, bro. Hey, yo, if y'all like my podcast, definitely go check out, you know what I'm saying, the my cousin Woo. No, not my cousin, that's not what it's called. But in my comments, it's bro, drop the name of your show right now. It's blanking on me right now. I want to say it's the I cannot think about it right now. I don't know why. I'm blanking on it, bro, and I'm so sorry. And it's like, first of all, go follow him. Second of all, what is the name of your show, bro? Will you please put it in the comments so people can follow you? Cause it's not the Irresponsible Show, bro. Please drop it in. I thank you. I love you too. I'm bro. Thank you. The Irregular Show. I'm like, yo, I didn't want to call it the wrong thing. Yes, the Irregular Show podcast. Please go follow my cousin's podcast. It is very similar to mine, but it's a little bit more like raunchy. You dig what I'm saying? But they definitely express ideas that are similar to what it is that I'm talking about right at this moment in time. That's the reason why I couldn't think of it, because his branding has the number 1 on it. And I could not for the life of me think of what came after the 1. I just knew it was the 1. That was it. It was bothering me. But no, so they very much so color these conversations as well. But altogether, How that relates to emotional intelligence in relationships, sincerely, even this right here, like the engagement between me and my cousin that just happened right now. Bro, I literally could have made it seem as if though, oh, I'm just going to make it seem like ha ha ha. No, I'm going to be honest, my boy, I forgot. Please drop it in here. I love you. Charge it to my head, not my heart. You know I smoke a lot of weed, but it is the Irregular Show podcast. And I will, in my mind, like I literally felt guilt in that moment because this like my little brother. You dig what I'm saying? So that prompts me to then shift my behaviors around how it is that I publicize people who I want to make sure that they, you know what I'm saying, they get that traffic as well. I'm going to be more responsible about how it is that I care for what it is that people tell me, because I know that within my repertoire, I tend to forget shit. And it ain't like I ain't been on his podcast like 3 or 4 times. I just literally will blank at a moment where I know I'm supposed to know something. You dig what I'm saying? But once again, in relationships, and once again, that this is just like my little brother, that's still a relationship. So in a relationship dynamic, are you willing to genuinely say, yes, I fucked up and I will do better, right? Even if it's just on the fly, like it don't gotta be something huge. It don't gotta be something huge. You dig what I'm saying? Not who's irresponsible. Oh my God, bro. Hey, if I move back to Chicago, me and my cousin gonna have a podcast called it's gonna be called My Cousin Woo, bro. Me and him in the same room is ridiculous. But once again, relationship dynamic. If you are wanting to continue to have a relationship in that way grow, you cannot be afraid to identify where it is that you have not done the best in your communication. You cannot be afraid to identify, once again, look for where you lack. Look for where you lack. I know that I lack in remembering shit. So if somebody say you forgot, I'm more likely to say, you know what, you motherfucking right. So what have I begun doing? I've begun writing things down. Right? I've begun asking people like, yo, can you please do X, Y, and Z? Send it to me in the calendar. Do this, do that. Even, you know what I'm saying? When I'm dating or when I'm engaging, like, yo, can you please send this to me in the calendar? I don't want to forget. You bring this up a lot. Can you please send this? Like, yes, on the back end, I'm going to be doing my own research, but I don't want to forget when precisely it is because I deal with a lot of dates. And I don't want you to feel like I don't care about what it is that you're talking about. But at the very least, I'm letting you know that this is where I fall short. So I would like some assistance. Like, I'm not going to have you do the whole drawing by yourself, but at the same time, like, yo, what's like, this is where I fall short. I'm looking for some assistance. You dig what I'm saying? Like, being very honest and then continuing to, once again, because a lot of men will do that and then not continue to work on that labor. Nah, cuz once you say that, put in the work. Don't shirk from the responsibility then. Like, yes, it's going to be a long journey. Yes, you're going to have to get fussed at. Yes, it's going to happen. It's going to, because you are learning something that you do not know. It is skills acquisition. I am still not the greatest at remembering dates, remembering who's who. Like, I'm still not the greatest at it because of a myriad of things, right? But still, I am putting forth the effort to get better at organization. I am putting forth the effort to get better at time management. I am putting forth the effort to get better at things, just as I glance at my clock and try not to have a heart attack to make sure I ain't missed no meetings. Oh boy. But no, I'm working on it though, sincerely. As a man in a relationship, a woman will respect you if you are working. But we are so attached to this idea of material work that we forget about emotional work. We forget about mental work. We forget about physical work. I'm going to do another podcast episode called The Return of the Gentleman. Right? Because I've been having conversations with people and I've been saying like, yo, we don't talk about gentlemen anymore. Like, we as men really do not talk about how to be gentle anymore. Like, all we want to do is fuck on and suck on and beat on. Like, what, bro? What happened to try a little tenderness, my G? You dig what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? Sincerely, no Marvin Gaye, but as also Marvin Gaye. What's going on? Like, why are we so fixated on this idea of dominance and power? Is it because we do not have the opportunity to engage in financial? Let's be very honest here. Let's continue to have this conversation around emotional intelligence. and what drives our behavior, especially as black men. We have to be more honest about this, man. We have to. Because if we're being very honest about what it is that a lot of us as black men lack as it relates to just statistics, bro. So let's dead this conversation right now about money. Statistically, black men, we are more likely to be born into poverty. We are more likely to backslide into poverty. We are less likely statistically to sustain a higher income over time relative to black women. So basically, we have a different set of financial pitfalls than black women. We have a different set, right? But over time, because of the way that black women insure themselves based upon their decisions, they tend to fare better for longer, right? Just based upon decisions, sincerely. Decisions related to what it is that they believe that they can achieve and what it is that they want. Now, I will say that for us as black boys, while we are black boys, our encouragement dynamic, it definitely looks different, right? We are not encouraged to speak about what it is that we feel. We are not encouraged to say, no, I don't like that. And when I say that, I mean football, anything that has to do with contact or a will to do violence. Like, we're not allowed to say we don't like that. Otherwise, we get abandoned emotionally. We get abandoned socially. And we have to drift in this sea of whether it be men who are upset that they're not getting sex, people who are still trying to figure themselves out. And it's just a wash until we land on somebody's beach and then assume the position of whatever we believe manhood to be at that time. That's not something that should be continued. We need to have more emotionally intelligent and structured conversations specifically within black men. Because that is the only way we are going to save black boys. The only way. Black women, y'all say all the time that black women can't raise black boys. So then where are we? Where are we? I've asked this before. Where are the fathers? We are the fathers. Oh, I ain't that baby daddy. Okay, and can you not be a community pillar that he can look up to as a father figure? Like, what is wrong with you? Why are we not assuming the position of the masculinity that we so desperately clamor about? To be emotionally intelligent means that you understand that nobody is stopping you from being the most masculine version of yourself but you. You are just afraid that the most masculine version of yourself is not something that people will like. We are lacking self-confidence. We are lacking self-concept. We are lacking the intelligence that will let us know that the way in which we are attempting to run our households does not even make sense at this point. It doesn't. Financially. Rent for an average 2-bedroom apartment is $1,500. Most people do not make over $1,725. Between $1,725 and $2,150. Where are you going to get the rest of that money from, black man? Where are you going to get it? Where are you going to get the rest of this money from, black man? Where are you going to get it? Right? And by the way of you getting it, by the way of you feeling less of a man because you don't have this money, we then begin making irrational decisions, and it only takes one. It only takes one, because the things that we say about the system are true. The system is actively seeking to enslave black men. It is actively seeking to emasculate black men. And please, for the love of God, not through the LGBTQI community. No, that's not what that is. They are seeking to emasculate black men through contextualizing black men as beasts who have no composure and have no ability to control themselves. So they need to be neutered. They need to be controlled. They need to be contained. That is emasculation. For another man to define your masculinity, for a man to have his masculinity removed from him, We are allowing white men constantly to define our masculinity. And in my mind, that is true emasculation. We are allowing white men to lead us into what it is that is appropriate to govern ourselves. But once again, we don't want to admit that because on a very deep level, it'll make us feel less like men, specifically less like the black men that people want us to parade around to be, which is this hyper-masculine, hypersexual, and hyper-performative statute of masculinity. Once again, an honest evaluation of self will lead you to believe that most black men don't even want to behave that way. Nigga, sometimes we just want to chill. So do you really want to be the black man that you believe that you want to be? Right? And on the side of the women, there's this concept that being a superwoman, a super black woman, right? This whole idea of quote unquote, and men talk about it a lot, this hyper independence. Okay. As much as it's a thorn in my side, the way that they contextualize it, they're not incorrect. Hyper independence is a trauma response. It is. It is. And I'm not saying that you all are wrong for having this trauma response. But what I'm saying is that if you are consistently engaging in relationships with men and you are not being honest that the reason why you tend to fly off at the handle is because you have not regulated your emotional not transgressions. You have not regulated your emotional swings from your previous relationship, where you had to engage at that intensity in order to get a response. Now you're engaging at this intensity with this other man and he's shutting down. Now you feel like he doesn't care. You don't think that those two things are related? What does that have to do with hyperindependence? You are not allowing somebody to assist you in processing those emotions because you believe that you are justified in that defense because men treat women like this all the time. Right? So independent, hyper independent, independent of the environment, right? i.e., I'm going to continue doing this because it was done to me. You are now removing yourself from the accountability of harm. That is hyper independence. Literally removing yourself or secluding yourself from what's going on in the environment. It is a type of hyper independence, right? And people will say, well, men will do that too. Yes, 100%. But once again, there are situations in which men will verbalize their emotional realities and women will refuse to accept it because it is incongruent with how it is that they believe that men should behave. I'm going to say that one more time. There are times where a man will communicate to the best of his ability, right? Based upon the reality, once again, right? So hyper-independence can also be seen as removing yourself from the environment, right? Hyper, to a large degree, independent by oneself, right? So removing yourself from the process of things that happen in the environment. Women uphold the patriarchy that harms men and makes them believe that they have to behave like men. But then when they meet these same men, they refuse to understand how it is that they, in that moment, are not allowing that man the grace and the space to process at their rate what it is that they are feeling. I have literally had men come to me and say, Odi, I don't know what I'm feeling, but I know that I'm feeling something. It is called normalized male alexithymia. But once again, there are some women who refuse to believe that men have an emotional care or emotional processing dynamic and internalize it and personalize it as them not caring about what it is that she has said. That is wildly unfair because it's not an emotionally intelligent communication pattern. I don't give a damn what you say. Because at that point in time, you are utilizing internalized misogyny and you are utilizing actually patterns of malevolent patriarchy in order to basically beat this boy into continuing to be the man that will provide for you in the way that your father told you or another man told you that a man should provide. But now you upset that this man now is making all his money, but now he can't be around you, or he doesn't want to be around you. I wonder why. You pushed him into a state of overwork stress in order to provide for you in one way, but now you are asking for him to provide in another way without thinking about how much energy he has to provide or how much energy he has to put into providing this way. And once again, because men are caught in this catch-22 where they cannot, or they feel like they cannot express it, that's usually why a lot of y'all fathers was real upset. They was real bitter they had mistresses. And that's the reason why women perceive that the mistresses get all the love. Because somewhere along the line, a lot of the wives start having all of the requirements, but none of the appreciation. Because as a woman, if a relationship or a marriage was your destination, I've seen people get to their destination and stop. It is now gone from, oh, I appreciate that he does this for me, to he's my husband. That's what he's supposed to do. Ooh, but weren't you hollering about that when you was his girlfriend? Nobody is absolved of lack. Nobody. 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 Nobody is absolved of lack. We all can improve somewhere. We can. The question is whether or not you are honest enough with yourself and aligned enough with yourself to identify that lack, to perceive that lack thoroughly, to radically accept that lack, and then to give yourself the space and grace to acquire the skills to close that gap. And all of that takes time. Right? So the next time you try to perceive or try to like project like you not doing this, woo, slow down. Slow down. Do not blame. Do not point. No. State clearly what your need is. State clearly what your emotions are. State clearly, without assigning a task to that person, what you would like the outcome to be. So instead of saying, I want you to go to the store because I'm hungry. Baby, I'm very tired. I did not have the opportunity to stop at the store. Do you mind going to the store so that we can have something to eat for dinner tonight? Done. Done. Right? The reception of your partner is not of concern at this moment in time. I am talking about how it is that you are communicating it. Because too many of us believe that a directive is the same thing as expressing a need. The reason being is because we came from households where we were told to do things and not asked. A lot of us come from households where we were told to do things and not asked. Therefore, we believe that a request is the same thing as a command, and it is not. I cannot stand when somebody commands me to do things. You are not my father. And me and my father already have beef for shit like that. So no, you can ask me politely, and I will review whether or not your request is something that I can fulfill, but you will not command me to do shit. Do it your goddamn self with your high and mighty ass. Nobody likes to be commanded to do anything. Unless y'all fucking. That's something different. But nobody likes to be commanded to do anything. Or I'm sorry, nobody likes to be commanded to do anything. Ooh, shit. So ask. Do not beg. It's not begging. It's asking. Oh, I'm not going to beg nobody to do shit. You come from a house where people talk to you abrasively and they threaten you with violence if you do not do what it is they ask you to do. You were bullied into what it is that you were doing for people. That is the reason why you have such a hard time doing things for people. But intergenerational trauma is not a thing. My friend, shut up, dear. I've seen it too many times. Too many times. Who taught you how to communicate like this? My mother, my father, my sister, my brother, my grandmother. Your nucleic family is the first relationship dynamic that you are in from the time that you are born to the time that you begin fucking other people. Therefore, the way in which you communicate usually comes from your family dynamic. And your family dynamic usually got a lack to it because you can see it. You are not hyper independent of your family structure as much as you want to be. I know you running from whoever it is that you believe that you don't want to be, who treated you like shit, and then the more that you run, the more that you realize that you're more like this person than you realized. Yeah. You're trying to be hyper independent of your family structure. It is a trauma response. Independence is the appropriate adaptation of the, what is it called? What's the word I'm looking for? The movement away from the family, right? The growth away from the family, rather. That's independence. Hyper independence is attempting to protect oneself through a state of hyper awareness, allowing them to see, quote unquote, when a threat is coming so that they are not harmed in their state of vulnerability. So do you not allow people around you because you genuinely are just okay with being by yourself? Or are you okay with being by yourself because whenever you are by yourself with somebody else, they have harmed you? Look for what you lack. You lack security. You lack safety. You lack vulnerability. Look for what you lack. You lack communication. You lack the ability to regulate. You lack the ability to identify properly when something is a red flag or a green flag, for that matter, right? Look for what you lack. You lack the ability to identify when you are being misogynistic or when you are engaging in a way that could be perceived as misandrist. Look for what you lack. You lack the relationship with your father, so you don't necessarily believe what it is that men say when they do things, even though this man has given you everything that you have asked for, yet you ask for more because you just want to make sure that he's going to continue giving what it is that he's giving you, without realizing that motherfucker's probably tired of giving you shit, not because he does not want to give it to you, but because he has to go through a lot of effort to get what it is that you're asking for, right? Look for what you lack. You lack the ability to affirm particular boundaries because you just want to be with somebody, whoever that somebody is. Because being alone by yourself is too difficult because the voices in your head, and I'm not talking about schizophrenia, I'm talking about the things that people have said to you are rattling so loud inside of your brain that you cannot stand to be in a quiet room for more than 5 minutes. You lack peace. You lack stillness. You lack rest. Right? So what does that mean? Where do we go from here? Well, we go forward. We move honestly. Right? We talk to God more often. However it is that you describe it, we look into spirit. We look into self. And we honestly identify whether or not what it is that we are doing is resonating with our higher self. Good people, today is October 19th, 2022. Peace Nation. Today's mathematics is knowledge and born, all being born to 1-0, the ultimate cipher, the master number 10, meaning that when you get knowledge and being born with that knowledge, you have to come back to the original knowledge, because you cannot be born into anything other than knowledge, wisdom, or understanding, because without 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, you cannot get to 9. the people, great people, God's people. I appreciate y'all coming to listen with me. Once again, like I said, if you all enjoy reading books, if you all are bookworms like myself, please join my book club hosted by ShareSpace. The ShareSpace app, once again, is an app where you can go as a mental health provider, as a coach, as any type of person who just wants to have a confidential group of people talking about what it is that they feel that they need support on in mental health. The ShareSpace app is an app that allows you to do that. You can create free and paid groups, and my group on the ShareSpace app is called Odi's Book Club, where we review books twice a month. The book of the month this month is The Alchemist, and also that is where you will find Odi's Lullaby while I read to, the ladies or whoever else. Like I said, I don't discriminate if it's itemized, you feel what I'm saying? Whoever else decides to listen in onto the Zoom live reading. It goes from 9 to 10 p.m. So, grab your blankets, grab your hot cocoa, grab your wine, get you real warm and snuggly. And we read romance novels. Whichever romance novel is picked, I read them from 9 to 10 p.m. Once again, it's every other Tuesday and Thursday. So join me in my book club. Also, Mindful Finance, my flagship course for my Black Wealth brand. My Black Wealth brand will be completely solidified by October 25th. So anything that you all are looking for from me can be found on my website. We just doing all the nuts and bolts on the ins and outs. You dig what I'm saying? Mindful Finance is a course that identifies intergenerational trauma in order to get you prepared for generational wealth. So like I said, as it relates to how it is that we were talked to in our households, the way that it is that we dealt with money and the way that it is that we identified money also has a huge impact on how it is that we perceive not only our perceptions of value, but how it is that we go about procuring income and solidifying ourselves in the global economic spectrum as it relates to being black. So once again, y'all come check me out at Mindful Finance. My masterclass will be on October 25th. I'm going to be constantly posting things not only on my story, but in my on my timeline about the Mindful Finance course. Y'all come check me out. I think that's it. So good people, great people, God's people. Once again, this is going to be available on Spotify, on Audible. It's going to be available on my Instagram as a preview to the live. And of course, it's going to be on my YouTube as the high resolution video podcast that you all are going to know to come and love. Odi's office, right? Announcement. I'm actually getting ready to open my podcast guest seats back up, right? So I'm really excited about that, y'all. We're going to start doing them once again because I used to do it early in the day. So we're going to open them back up. So if you want to be on Odi's office, right? So y'all see how I'm moving in these numbers, Joe. I almost got 200K on TikTok. I'm at 10K on Instagram, and I got 2,000 followers on YouTube. You dig what I'm saying? I love y'all for that. So if you want to be up here, you want to talk about some things, you know what I'm saying? If you got a healthy platform too, if you always want to have a conversation with me, come holler at me. You dig what I'm saying? The link is going to be in the bio as everything else. And once again, peace, love, soul, butter rolls. I appreciate y'all. Peace.